Terrific. All right, let's get going. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for dialing in. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Troy Forrest. I'm the Managing Director of Strategy Road, and I'm the coordinator of the Strategy Road Swarm, which is a group of independent professional service providers and advisors of about 24 different organisations. We've been putting these short webinars together for the past few weeks to help SME, small to mid-sized business owners and leaders navigate their way through this unusual period in business history to come out the other side a stronger business. Today, we're joined by Tania Cavaiuolo from C Marketing and Communications. Tania is a marketing and comms specialist, and I know she's got some terrific wisdom to share here today. So, Tania, big welcome to you, and I might just get you to kick off by giving us a bit of a 60-second overview of your business and what you do.
Sure. So thanks, Troy, and hi, everyone. I'm really about authenticity in marketing and communications. I provide the fresh perspectives that my clients need to help them to be seen and understood more clearly through their marketing and communications. So for some businesses, that's at the brand development stage. So they've got an idea, but they want some assistance to really bring that to life. And so that will be workshops or research to really shape what that position will be for them. The next level is probably the marketing plan. A lot of people probably operate with a marketing budget, which they roll and evolve year after year, but isn't necessarily a plan. So people often want to formalise that. Or I'll do a subset of that, maybe a content marketing plan or a digital marketing plan for them. And then it's the roll the sleeves up, just get it done type of stuff. So I do a lot of writing in my work, a lot of spit and polishing, it's the technical term, to really bring their brand and their value to life through their communications.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tania. And I forgot to mention to everyone at the start, if you have a question during this conversation at all, we may run tight on time to have a lot of interaction, but please leave your question in the Q&A form and Tania is happy to answer them at the end. Tania, can I ask you how COVID-19 and this whole strange period has affected your business?
Yeah, like many of us, I've had to move home again, which is normally okay, but it's a bit of a construction site next door and I can actually see the tradies working up there at the moment. Hopefully they're not going to be too noisy as we're doing this. I guess the other aspect, while most of my work is delivered offline, so remotely, I do facilitate workshops and I have had to run a couple of focus groups as part of research via Zoom, which has been great, actually. I think the only limitation is more mine. I like to use my hands. Troy calls them my Italian hands. So I felt like I've been doing that with my hands tied behind my back a little, but certainly didn't impact the outcomes of the session. It was more a personal thing.
Okay. How about client businesses? What sort of range or spectrum of impacts have you seen in your clients' worlds? Yeah,
I mean, I think there seem to be two kind of obvious elements, and that is those who are going the gangbusters. And, you know, if you're in professional services like accounting or HR, those sorts of areas, you're probably running off your feet. You may not even be recouping the value of time that you're putting into servicing your clients right now. But certainly from a brand perspective, that's great business, showing that you're responsive and there for clients when they need you. The other are people who are really wanting to stimulate demand. And sometimes that's just a matter of mixing some things up. Sometimes it's just a matter of waiting because they're just not in an industry that people are thinking about right now. So a range of things. Certainly I've been working with a couple of clients to workshop some ways of parceling up their products and services a little differently so that it suits a digital space.
Okay, so I was going to ask you what, you know, in terms of key marketing and communication issues that you're seeing clients having to face right now that dominating your phone and Zoom conversations with them, what's sort of top of the list?
First one is, should I still be marketing? Yeah. And if so, what should I be saying? I think probably time has marched on a little bit and people have kind of settled into their reality of that, what's going to make sense to them. But yes, you should be marketing. Because, you know, I'll talk a little bit more about this in maybe the next section, but really making sure that you remain visible is important. But I think the other one that's perhaps bigger is the question of dropping prices to stimulate demand. That's a tough one. People, obviously, if you're really struggling and you're worried about paying the bills and JobKeeper or whatever version you may have access or may not have access to isn't quite feeling good, you may be just wanting to do anything you can to bring the money in. That's okay. But unfortunately, if you set an expectation that your services can be delivered for less, when we get to the other side of this, it's going to be a tough job to re-establish that value that you offer. So I've been working with my clients to develop some bite-sized versions of their products and services. So they'll lower the price, but they'll also lower the deliverables and the scope of the service. So a mini version, which still lets them support clients, still demonstrates value and an authentic experience for people, but isn't just a straight price promotion.
Yeah, sure. It makes sense. And I think, as we're going to see a whole lot of belt tightening already happening and going to happen into the future, as we think about, how people view marketing and view communication activities. Is it a discretionary spend? Is it something I should just be completely abandoning as I get on with the tin tax work of my business? What would you say, about marketing and comms in this belt tightening period that we're going through?
If you haven't already, Google how to cutting your marketing budget during a recession. You'll see a range of articles written by really good authorities that really show us that it's not a great thing to do. And while I'm in business too, we all like to find efficiencies, and we should be doing that all the time with marketing, just like any part of our business. What can happen if we dramatically cut things or stop doing things is we can lose our share of voice. So right now we each hold a share of visibility for our category in our market among our network. And if we drop our activities and our competitors don't, then suddenly they're just a little more prominent than us. And if they're a bit more flush, then a great idea for them is to be investing more in marketing because they can gain some more of that share of voice. So there are some really important lessons from history about what to do in this time, and I do encourage you to just read up some things. I certainly shared a story along those lines on my LinkedIn. For those of you who are connected with me, just go back through and check. But yeah, do have a search. Use a scalpel, not a cleaver, is my advice there. But you can look at some consolidations. So maybe subscriptions that you don't really get a lot of value at, maybe you can pause them or jump down to a lesser value service or a different from pro to basic or something like that. You can swap some paid tools with some free ones. So I was talking to a client who was using InDesign and I said, have you looked at Canva? It's free. It'll take you 20 minutes to figure it out yourself, but call me if you need a hand, and can certainly be an efficient way to just make all of that make a little bit more sense.
So I guess in that vein, in this sort of period, is there perhaps a more willingness of audiences to be receptive to slightly less polished or, highly edited kind of marketing? You say move to Canva and there's a bit of DIY stuff that you can do there, not necessarily that elite level that you might be used to, but still very good. What's your thoughts on that?
Definitely. There's a really good podcast if Marketing Week put out recently, a couple of experts talking about how what's called production value, so the quality of film, how they're even taking a lo-fi version to TV advertising in the UK and elsewhere. So we're seeing people relax a little bit more. So the idea of having everything perfect is less important, and I'm hoping that we'll stay with that because I think that's kind of nice. But we've certainly seen examples of things going wrong on tech, and my favourite, I don't know if you've seen this one, but the woman who conducted an entire business meeting as a potato, she'd somehow applied some strange filter, and she was, a couple of eyes and a mouth and below ground with the grass on top. And it was just hilarious. I wonder if it was a bit of a ploy to get some publicity, but certainly was, the more we can relax and just go with the flow, I think the easier it'll be for us in business, and in a way it makes us more relatable.
I think it's great advice, and it's this take a chill pill moment in the world, and so maybe we think about that in our marketing and comms too. I guess then from practical things that you think, okay, here's a few fundamental tips that I'd be advising any SME owner or leader right now to be thinking about and applying during this period to their comms and marketing.
Yeah, so first one, this is a fantastic time to ask a bunch of questions. We often talk about surveys, and some people have a really robust way of doing that, and other people are kind of ad hoc. This is a great time to do that, but think carefully about what you want to ask. You only need a few questions. What I would be focusing on is things that bring to life the experience people have after they've been serviced by you. So not just did your parcel arrive on time and things like that. That's good to know, but right now, what kind of problem you're solving at an emotional level, to the extent where that's relevant to your business and your product. Because when you get that information, you can feed that back into your marketing communications. And what you're doing is just saying, after you have worked with me, or after you have purchased this product, this is how you will feel. And that's what they're looking for. So that's certainly one. I've been doing some work running focus groups for larger organisations. So one large charity in particular, I did some work to help them understand how the world saw them outside. We're often really quite critical internally, and it almost doesn't matter what we think of ourselves. It's actually what other people think of us that matters most. So doing some research, how are they seen? How well does their marketing communication, so the messages they were using, match how they were seen? There wasn't a great alignment, so I did some work and I reworked the messaging for them. We tested it again, and it was really positive. So it can be a great way to kind of evolve your message and kind of road test it before you commit to something fully. Trying new things. We talked about doing things. This is actually really new. Troy knows that I don't like live video. I can stand and sing in front of a room of 2,000 people, but I can't do this. So certainly opportunities to practice, and it is actually what I did before this. So I have a Facebook group with a business network. I just did a couple of live videos and said, I'm just practicing. So find environments where you can test and be comfortable to do that. Most people are really supportive when you're trying something new. Maintaining our business relationships, mostly because it's a great thing to do. If you're a relational person, then now's a time to keep those relationships happening with our clients, with our business networks. And a great little tip is maybe there's a chance for you to shop yourself or get a friend to do this for you. So if you've got a product or a service that has a checkout mechanism, ask a friend or someone you trust to jump on and say, can you just buy something and tell me what your experience is? Was it smooth? Was it streamlined? Is there something that would have made it easier for you? Did you find things where you expected to find them? It's a great chance to do all of that user experience testing. And then I would say getting your ducks in a row, clean up your database, review the tools and systems. Can you do things more efficiently? If you've got a couple of people working on different aspects of your marketing mix, do they all know how they fit together? Is there a way to make that more efficient and streamlined? And have a look at your business profiles. So your LinkedIn, your website, any directories you might belong to, they should all say the same thing about your business. That can sometimes get out of kilter over time.
I think they're terrific, fundamental, practical ideas relevant to any business right now, Tania, and I won't ask you to sing, and we don't have 2,000 people in the audience. I don't think. However, I would like to maybe wrap the conversation up with your thoughts on, as businesses start imagining themselves coming out the other side of this weird period, and the frenetic nature of things that are going on right now starts to calm down a little bit. What should they be thinking about and planning for and getting ready for, as best they can right now?
Yeah. So the marketing challenge always is being relevant and being thought of in a buying situation. So it's fine to be remembered, but if you're not remembered at the point where people are making a choice, it's not overly helpful. So I think this is where I might cue that slide.
Yeah, sure. Bear with me if I can get the technology to behave itself, everyone. So that's it.
Okay. So this is almost entirely a model adapted, used by Philip Kotler, who is considered the father of modern marketing. The only thing I've added is this values component, because I think values are a really important part of making decisions about your marketing. But often when I talk to business owners, they start at the bottom right there, the word promotion. So, you know, what posts should I be creating? What content should I be coming up with? You know, do I need an email newsletter? Those sorts of questions. They're great questions, but that's not where the work starts. If you step it back there, the marketing strategy, and go back to the brand positioning, everything needs to hang together. So I certainly think that brand positioning question, so who you are authentically and how you get that message across authentically, should drive every decision that you make about your promotions. So right now, if you're not clear about who you are, if you're not clear about whether you're still relevant or whether you're going to be relevant, people's expectations may have changed through this time. And if you're not customer centric, not about you selling a product that you think someone needs, but about matching that need to something that you can deliver. They're really deep questions that I think that you can really focus on, and that will enhance your work into the future. Great time to evaluate the new and adapted services you've come up with. So you might have been trying some new things right now to get your service or product out. So have a look at that. Ask clients, how did they find it? Did it actually work? Would they be interested in that continuing? So for example, if you run a gym and you suddenly moved into an online delivery, is there actually an opportunity to keep that going? Do you have a second way of delivering your core service? Segmentation. Now this, we saw the impact of poorly segmented database in the beginning of COVID, when we got inundated by emails from people we'd ever even remotely had an interaction with in the last, since digital was a thing. And we were bombarded by their emails telling us things that were irrelevant to us. So it's a great time to just remember that the complexity of your clients, perhaps the maturity of the businesses, if you're B2B, that will mean that their needs of you are quite different from someone who perhaps is a sole trader. So really thinking about the value relative to your segments and come up with a segmented tactical marketing plan. I've done some work with a couple of clients who this was actually a really important thing to address for them. They have really diverse clients. So, that's a really practical thing to do. And then the message hierarchy. So what can sometimes happen over time is that we get caught up in the freneticism of let's schedule a post a day or whatever it might be. And particularly when we start to outsource it, which is okay, that message runs the risk of being diluted across people, across platforms, across time. So I've come up with a way of developing sort of a content framework, some pillars, 3 or 4 messages that each piece of content you publish or produce needs to at least tick one of those messages. And it actually becomes a really good guide and keeps your content, your focus, your message, your brand cohesive, and is a really practical thing. So if that's not something you've done, that's certainly something I suggest you consider. And an example of that is, you might be in a premium category. I worked with a client in a vehicle branding area recently, and they're premium, they cost more, they're not cheap and cheerful. So we talked about some imagery and some slow-mo videos, and where things were reflected off the surface of the side of the vehicle, so that you could see the preparation of their surfaces before they even start. Finally, is about measuring tools. So I'm surprised at the number of businesses who don't have tracking on their websites. So it means that unless you're doing something online with a click, you have no idea whether you're generating leads and traffic to something like your website. So they're really simple to put in place. My caution there is be careful not to develop a marketing mix which is based on activities you can track. So some things you can track, some things you can't, but that's not a measurement on whether or not they're worthwhile doing. So that's it.
Tania, there are some amazing tips in there, both, I guess, to get people through COVID-19 and thinking beyond that as well. I guess what my encouragement to people is going to be after this is I'm going to save this video and I'll share it on the Strategy Road Swarm socials on LinkedIn and on Facebook later today, along with Tania's answers to a couple of questions which have bubbled up, which are excellent questions too. Some real gold in there, Tania. I'm very grateful to you for sharing it with us and with our audience, and I think incredibly practical and useful. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for dialing in. I hope that's been practical and useful for you. And you'll see more of these videos in the weeks and months ahead from us as well. Enjoy your day. Be safe and be well. Thanks very much. Thanks, Tania.
Thanks.